More and more coronavirus cases around the world.
A little later in the newscast, the concern from U.S. health officials, but right now we're going to be hearing from a former Valley resident living in Beijing.
We're not on lockdown, but it almost felt like we have been.
He's a journalist. You might have seen several of his reports here on Channel 5. This evening, he's in the middle of the coronavirus outbreak.
His family moved there several months ago. Channel 5's Cecilia Gutierrez spoke to him about how that virus is changing daily life.
This is Beijing, China on a typical day.
So I've been here for the last several months, but last 7 months. But the thing that's unavoidable is running into people. There's always large crowds everywhere you go. Traffic is crazy here. And to see that from 1 week to the next, just basically a city empty out, was really eerie.
The capital of China becoming a ghost town over the last 3 weeks. For Oscar Margain, a journalist who lived in the valley for several years, this is a shocking silence.
Did you ever think you'd be in a situation like this?
When you ask that question, it gave me a little bit of the chills just thinking about it, because I look back and I was like, I didn't come over here for this. Like, this is not the reason why I came to China, was, to be, stuck in my apartment and having to deal with this virus and having to be conscious about every little thing I do, any movement I make, anything I touch, every time I touch my face.
Margain started recording some of the busiest areas of the city when the virus started putting a damper on China's biggest holiday, Lunar New Year.
It's been like a dead city for the last 2 going on 3 weeks now, ever since the Spring Festival, which is the Lunar New Year, which is celebrated here at the end of January.
Constant monitoring for people who show symptoms of the coronavirus and decontamination is the new norm for Margain.
You also then had some of the notices, like, make sure you're wearing a face mask. And then they started installing or putting a couple of their personnel in some of the subways and taking your temperature. And, little by little, these measures were being put in place, and it was to slowly, try to contain the spread of the virus.
Public transportation still works, but it's limited to the city.
And it got to the point where it's now level 4, which is do not travel.
It's an invisible enemy to all of China.
It's just, it plays with your head, because, you're thinking, well, what if I screw up that one time? You don't see the threat out there, so you're wondering, okay, do I really need to stay indoors that much? And you start feeling, well, nothing's going to happen. And
Margain says for now they'll stay and cope with the change in the city. And with the Lunar New Year holiday coming to an end, he says it's a waiting game.
Once we see the city at its fullest, it'll be interesting to see if this virus spreads or not. So again, we feel somewhat comfortable that we're safe, but we also got to be mindful about the next several days, because these are going to be key to really containing the virus here in Beijing.
In West Lago, Cecilia Gutierrez, Channel 5 News at 6.